Let's just take you right back to our breaking news that we've been bringing to you in the last few minutes here on BBC Breakfast. That is the statement that we've had confirmed from Sir Graham Brady, chairman of the 1922 committee. I'm just going to bring you a few words from it. Vote of confidence in the leader of the Conservative Party. This is going to go ahead today. It says the threshold of 15% of the parliamentary party seeking a vote of confidence in the leader of the Conservative Party has been exceeded. In accordance with the rules, a ballot will be held between 1800 and 2000 tonight, so between 6 and 8 tonight. So that's today, Monday, the 6th of June. Details are to be confirmed.
And so what that means is that all the Conservative MPs, there's about 180 of them, I think, go to the House of Commons and have a secret ballot. So nobody knows how they're voting, which creates an interesting dynamic, doesn't it? Even cabinet ministers or ministers might vote one way or the other. We don't know. And Boris Johnson would need to get, 50% plus one vote. That's all he needs. And after that, technically, he's safe. There can't be another challenge for a year. But the question is, just by going through this process, by having so many of his MPs writing those letters of no confidence, wanting this vote, how does that damage him? Does it damage him to the point where it becomes very difficult for him to continue, as we saw with Theresa May only, it feels like a lifetime ago, but we're talking about 2-3 years ago.
And we are live on College Green this morning, aren't we? Because that's where that moment happened for Theresa May and Sir Graham Brady. That's where he made that statement all those years ago. So there had been speculation this morning that he might do the same, but we can confirm that at 7 minutes past 8 this morning, the statement came through to the Conservative Party, released on social media from Sir Graham Brady, who goes on to say that the votes will be counted immediately afterwards tonight, and then an announcement will be made at a time which he says is to be advised.
We know that a lot of Conservative MPs were wavering. They were waiting to see maybe what happened in those by-elections later in the month. But also a lot of speculation this morning is that maybe this was the moment which persuaded enough of them to write those letters and to force that vote. This was the moment on Friday.
You could hear those boos there, couldn't you? We're going to go straight now live to College Green and show you what's happening there. Any moment now, we are expecting you to see Sir Graham Brady walk into the shot at College Green. He has...
Here he comes, I think.
Here he comes. There he is, the chair of the 1922 committee. Here he is. The microphone is set up. Everybody's there waiting for him to make a statement.
I don't think he just happens to be walking past here. Here we go.
Microphone on, please. Yeah, so we're going to be in front of this microphone, please. And if you don't mind doing that, you're not on.
They're just preparing for him to make that statement. The news we brought you just a few moments ago. The Prime Minister is facing a confidence vote tonight between 6 and 8 o'clock.
And he's been collecting those letters over months, hasn't he? And locking them away,
secretly,
apparently in a safe. Not even his family, his closest friends and relatives, least of all his political mates, knew exactly how many. Only he knew how many letters were in that safe, but we now know.
Well, there's a lot of speculation, hasn't it? So,
a lot of speculation over many weeks and months about the future of Boris Johnson and whether this moment would come. But there, right in front of the imposing Palace of Westminster, he's the man who will now coordinate that confidence vote later today.
Sure, I'm not making a statement. I've sent out a written statement. I'm really here to answer any questions you have on the process or procedure. I'll say what was in the written statement if it's helpful to you, which is simply to say that the threshold of 15% of the parliamentary party seeking a vote of confidence in the Prime Minister has been passed. Therefore, a vote of confidence will take place within the rules of the 1922 committee. That vote will take place this evening in the House of Commons between 6 and 8 o'clock, and we will announce the result shortly thereafter. There will be arrangements for proxy votes for any colleagues who can't be present in person in Westminster, and we'll notify colleagues of those arrangements in the near future.
Did you communicate the news directly to the Prime Minister? How did he react?
I'm not going to go into detail of that. I have followed the rules that we have in place. I notified the Prime Minister yesterday that the threshold had been reached, and we agreed the timetable for a confidence vote to take place, and he shared my view, which is also in line with the rules that we have in place, that that vote should happen as soon as could reasonably take place, and that would be today.
How many letters have you received?
I don't divulge that, but the threshold of 15% has been passed.
And when was the threshold passed?
It's slightly complicated because some colleagues had asked specifically that it should not be until the end of the Jubilee celebrations.
So did some of them post-date their letters so as not to interrupt the Jubilee?
I think that's not a bad description of what was taking place.
And that's when the threshold was breached?
Therefore, we reached the point where I could communicate with the Prime Minister yesterday, which I did, and as I said, he agreed with me that we should conduct the vote as quickly as we reasonably can.
Will the Prime Minister have a chance to address the 1922 committee before?
It's always an open invitation to the Prime Minister to come and speak to the committee, so if he wishes to, we will arrange that meeting this afternoon.
Have you put one in yourself, a letter?
I'm not going to answer that question, but I think technically it would be possible, but it would be a slightly odd thing to do.
Are you surprised at the speed with which Number 10 is moving? You've seen a few of these come and go, these events.
I'm not surprised by the speed. Our rules say it should be done as soon as is reasonable in the circumstances. When we held a vote on Theresa May's position in December 2018, we spoke the evening before and we held a vote the next day. So I suppose it's in line with recent precedent, and I think it's good for everybody to get these things out of the way as quickly and efficiently as possible.
How long could a contest actually take if there is one at the end of this?
I'm not going to speculate about leadership elections. We're holding a vote of confidence and it will take place today, and you will have a result this evening.
You mentioned there's been lots and lots of speculation. Is there a feeling in the Conservative Party that it would be good to clear this up?
Well, a confidence vote obviously will provide a clear answer. The party will have confidence in the leadership or not have confidence in the leadership. That's the question that will be before my colleagues today.
And if he survives, can you confirm that he is safe for another year, or is there a possibility that the rules could be changed?
Technically, it's possible for rules to be changed, but the rule at present is that there would be a year of a period of grace.
How did you find the mood in your own constituency over this break in terms of Boris Johnson's leadership?
I think my constituents have been enjoying the Jubilee as we all have. I think unless you've got any other questions of detail. No, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, your mic.
Oh.
So there we have
Well
Sir
done.
Graham Brady saying he wasn't going to make the statement. We already have the statement, don't we? But answering questions on the workings, basically, of that vote, which is going to happen tonight. Let's go straight back to our correspondent, Helen Catt, who's on College Green for us this morning, listening to all of that. So, Helen, we have finally reached that moment. And there's Sir Graham Brady just explaining now what's going to work. And interesting to note, the Prime Minister has known about this since yesterday.
Yes, that is part of the procedure of this, is once the threshold is reached, has been reached of those letters, which we've heard that it now has, those 54 letters, 15% of Conservative MPs saying that they do not have confidence in Boris Johnson as the leader of the Conservative Party. The process is first that Sir Graham Brady contacted the Prime Minister, contacted Downing Street. They came up with a timetable to hold this vote. Now, we're expecting it to be fast, we're expecting it to be speedy, and that is what we're getting today. Sir Graham Brady, as you heard there, saying that they want to, in effect, get it out of the way. So it will happen today. In the statement that you referred to there that Sir Graham Brady circulated earlier, it says that the vote a ballot will be held between 6 and 8 today, and that the votes will be counted immediately afterwards, an announcement made at a time to be advised. Now, when it was the vote of confidence in Theresa May, that was on the same day. It was made in a committee room, the announcement in a committee room inside the Houses of Parliament behind me. So we would expect to have a result by the end of today on this.
Helen, it's really interesting looking at the latest letter that went public this morning from Jesse Norman MP for Herefordshire. And he was normally a loyal member of the Conservative Party, wasn't it? Formerly member of the government. But he's using very strong words, talking about Boris Johnson presiding over what he called a culture of casual law breaking, saying that it was grotesque for the Prime Minister to claim that he'd been vindicated by the Sue Gray report. I mean, that language in itself, very damning at a point when the Prime Minister is vulnerable and facing this vote.
Yeah, it is. It's very striking, and we've seen some quite striking language from other allies in recent weeks. There are other former allies, other people who perhaps don't normally speak out hugely strongly in recent weeks. On the other hand, of course, there are those who are still passionate supporters of Boris Johnson as Conservative Party leader. There is a real and genuine division in the party. And then, of course, there are those who fall somewhere in between, who perhaps don't want to or wouldn't have wanted to trigger this contest, but are very unhappy with what has been happening. One certainly that I spoke to last week saying that they were really conflicted, that they just couldn't defend some of the things that they had seen and heard in recent months. So there is a lot of soul searching that's going to be going on in the Conservative Party today, because of course for many of them they now have to come to a decision. Those who've been turning this over for many months, Conservative MPs will now have to sit there with their ballot paper, them alone later, and decide if they do have confidence in Boris Johnson as the Conservative Party leader and Prime Minister, or whether they don't, and whether they think somebody else should come in his place. And there is real division. That is a very difficult decision for many Conservative MPs to make, but they will have to make it today.
Helen, for now, thank you very much indeed. I suspect we'll be back with you very soon, but thanks for now.